So these monoculture guys, they were heavy on the Roundup, and but then after their kids participated in our program, they would actually go and say, "Hey, hey, Papa, hey, it's I mean, Amar's not a bad guy. He teaches how to build corridors from tree to tree for tree houses and how to do ecotourism, and so he would talk. I mean, the cattle ranchers, they never. Oh, I was never able to develop a great rapport with them, but the monoculture guys, after through influence of the kids, they stopped the slashing and burning, and then the kids would tell them that I did ecotourism, that I did environmental tourism, and that might be what they want to do in the future. So it influenced them. So they became my friends. Okay, even some sheriffs became those self-proclaimed sheriffs became my friends, but I had already developed. It took years, but I had developed a good rapport with the forest dwellers in various villages, the whole part of a mountain range near here, Rio de Janeiro. Then a friend of mine comes. His name's Carlinhos. Wasn't from the UN. He worked for the state forestry department, but he had gone up there as a guide. He was being paid with some UN vehicles. And they were going to these villages and trying to set up workshops, meetings. But they were having a very difficult time because of the distrust of those communities. So that friend of mine, Carlinhos, he approached me, and he asked me, "Hey, we're having a difficult time. These are hard nuts to crack here. No one will give us. None of the villages will let us do our workshops." And I asked, "What are they about?" He said, "It's about environmental consciousness." So I trusted him. Okay, so I started I organized all that for it. It was like a year. It was going to be an ongoing thing. Every month they were going to come. And but in the first one that I went, those communities, they have nothing, and that's why it was so degraded there, because it's like it's a state within a state, and there's no asphalt roads to take. Difficult, they difficult life, like pioneer life. So they they no health center, very little schooling and security. That's why they had every village had its sheriff, and no trash pickup, no sanitary, nothing like that. People would throw their trash in the river, which is as bad as the Roundup going into the water, also, although almost as bad. But anyways, in the one local school in a very big radius, there was about 50 kids that studied in that school, and they had no education, and they were from different ages, different grades in the same. The same. It was a class. It was a small little house. So, but in that school was the first meeting, and in that school, the first thing I see is that the UN cars. They hired a van, and the van was all full of these audiovisual equipment. In those days, they were very big. They weren't small. So it was just full. They were setting up like Hollywood. So, but they do that. People that are getting paid to do this kind of work to influence an agenda, they get paid. But when you get paid, like an NGO, they want to show off. They want to show off their work because then they get more funds, or they or whoever hires them says that they have to show film how it's going in their workshops, et cetera, et cetera. So to me, that was the first thing that gave me. I had had a bad taste in my mouth since Echo '92. I never really trusted it, and but that was the first thing. Show offs, wanting to show so they can charge more money or whatever. That they're influencers, like the influencers of today. So then I saw a scene that immediately I cut off all the meetings, and it was the following: they would separate the mother and the fathers, okay, and they were making up all sorts of silly dynamics that they had to do that for a reason, and et cetera, et cetera. But my ears are open, and I see they're actors. They were like rehearsed. They were like they rehearsed all this, and they were just like perfect, like psyop. Almost, they could have been psychologists. I just thought about that now. Okay, and they knew the questions. They knew the buttons. They knew the emotions. So a lady would tell the mother, which is the wife of the cowboys, and say, look, there's no future here for your son, or your son should go to a technical school. He could become an electrician. He can become a plumber. He can become a mechanic. And then he'll have a future. There's no future here. And it would scare them. The roads coming in, because then they know that the forest police would stop, or in theory, stop their activities. Scare tactics, okay? And then the daughter, the same thing. We could help her get into university, which is impossible because they didn't have a basic education practically. It was precarious. But anyways, doesn't need to be said that I stopped the meetings and I got a real bad taste in my mouth. And Carlinos, I thought he was my friend, and he knew me from, I was known there from the project and from media and all that. But Carlinos was inside the Hydrographic River Committee with me, which is corrupt, okay? We were able to stop 3 dams from Samsung Electric Energy Division in that particular river. And after I found out Carlino was just a fake environmentalist, he was just on the take all the time. But what happened is that I can't really explain to you, because I started to study it. And Agenda 21, because it wasn't 30 back then, rebranding, so that's positive, right? What we were talking before. We can kill it, and they'll probably rebrand it again. But it reads like a Bible, okay? And I'm not I don't have the inspiration or the memorization techniques of a pastor reading St. James Version, Protestant or whatever, or the Catholic Bible. I'm not a priest, and I can't give these big sermons by divine inspiration or by memory. I don't know how they do it. They talk so long, so I can't talk to you by memory about Agenda 21. I would have to be a representative of the devil, because it's an evil thing. So I'll explain now. But the Bible talks about peace, love, forgiveness. But it also talks about guilt, sin, wars, famine. Remember famine. Some slogans might come up, some phrases might come up about food shortages in the future. Apocalypse. Okay, so Agenda 21 is the same. It talks about beautiful things like sustainability and protect the planet. We must protect the planet, and and then there's the other testament that is, it talks a lot about AI and robotics, so there won't be no more work or anything like that. Um, and I remember that in a course I was taking, the professor, he asked us to read Jeremy Rifkin. This is important, and it was decades ago, so it must have been one of his first books. And that book is called The End of Work. Now, this is a real long time ago. Okay, he must have been really young, so it must have been one of his first books. But he was already in all the university libraries and courses and stuff like that. So this has already been for a long time. The end of work is an old concept. Okay, so what is in Agenda 21 that's positive? That sounds positive. Okay, they want to. Okay, they say that they must protect nature. Okay, now, and this was after that that workshop that I saw them trying to impose, remove family farmers, because some weren't bad, some were family farmers, and we were able to create some consciousness, and we already had some organics happening, and people were doing agroforestry, and they weren't using the Roundup, and they weren't slash and burning. Because family farms, they have a right to be on the land that they've had since 1700s. So we have to stimulate and help organic farming and family farming. But Agenda 21 has so many positive things saying that no, we must do this, but it's up right in our face. It's saying no, it's going to be robotics, agribusiness, agribusiness, and GMO. It's GMO farming, monoculture, GMO farming. Okay, and that's great for the petroleum corporations. That's going to be energy companies. Samsung Energy was building dams there. So all the energy, they used to be called oil companies only, but now they're called energy companies because they're doing other products. And then you've got the petrochemical, which is the fertilizers and pesticides, byproducts. It's huge. The oil business and everything that they've done since Rockefeller discovered and established Standard Oil. Since he discovered oil in Texas, it's just like everything. Pharmaceuticals, they stopped the homeopath. But anyways, it just Agenda 21 has all these beautiful things, but then it has all these things that I know about. They're talking no more people needed because even the planting is going to be done by drone, and I'm hip to this, so I've seen the pictures and videos, drones that drop like ping pong balls with seeds in it. Okay, and then that's how they're going to do it, and you don't need no more human contact in order to produce because we're going to produce a lot of food. Okay, so but anybody that understands nature, anybody that loves nature, knows that the natural world loves us more than what we love them. Nature is abundant. But, and this is, I'm positive of this, they want to control what we eat and what we drink. For example, one of the reasons they want corporations they want family farmers and everybody out of the rural areas is because there's mineral waters and for decades, Coca-Cola and Nestle has been buying mineral water throughout, at least here, the countries that I've worked with, and they want to control what we drink, what we eat, what we eat, and the air that we breathe. Okay, because a human has a right to live in a rural area if he wants, and they're not going to stop that. They're going to give money for that. They're going to, if whoever has an NGO, the UN Agenda 30, will finance sustainable development projects. I've already gotten calls from friends that have scientist friends in Germany, and they said, you got the credentials, you can start doing projects for. But I don't. It's I choose not to participate, and we don't have to participate in this. Remember what I said. If they're going to get us with rhetoric, with narratives, with this, because this is a plan, okay? I'm not, okay? This is in front of our face. I'm not talking conspiracy, okay? This is something that smelled bad to me after a lot of seeing and research also, okay? So what do we have to do? Because what they're planning for Agenda 30 is that, for example, the country that has the best economy, that has in 2030, that has the most influence and power, is going to have more influence than the other countries, than the other countries. So we're talking about China, and they want to use the China model. They talk about this. They want to use the China model because China, I think I mentioned before, has mega cities, and already with 5G and artificial intelligence, it's a surveillance state. Okay, so I'm not saying, because Agenda 21 is something that they've been trying for a long time, and even before 2007 or 2008, when I got my second bad taste in my mouth about it, they've been since after 1992, since trying to go into municipalities in the U.S. Mayors have kicked them out, and they haven't been very successful. So again, let's not give them undeserved credit, and let's resist. If they want us in the cities, then, and not in the rural areas, then let's do the opposite. Okay? So just like, let's do rhetoric, and let's do phrases just like they do, narratives. And so let's do social engineering with them, So Agenda 30 is dirty. Like we said, do not consent to the Great Reset. So we have to, as an alliance, we have to understand the situation, what they want to impose on us, and create solutions, and then take action. And we will be able to beat them, okay, if we do that. And I have faith that this conference is going to be a trampoline, and for us to be able to create a common consciousness through knowledge of exactly what's going on and what they want to do. Now, like the Bible, Agenda 21 is, the Bible talks about famine. So, well, I think I already explained that. So we should decide and unite. And in my opinion, research for yourselves. But Agenda 30 is not is a controlling agenda. Okay, so it's just nothing more than post Echo 92. I mean, yeah, the the World Economic Forum is prelude to Echo 92, and Agenda 21/30 is post Echo 92. Okay, so I see, all of these dots are matching, and I suggest all should research, and let's create let's create a collective consciousness here. Okay, we'll talk about. If you want to ask me about solutions, we can talk about that.